Hey yo everybody, this is another installment of Finding Sensibility, where we take positive or inspirational quotes and see if we can make them work in the real world or if they're just a product of their times. And today we're going to be talking about a quote from George Bernard Shaw. Better keep yourself clean and bright. You are the window through which you must see the world. Today we're not going to talk so much about George Bernard Shaw, because there's a lot of meat in this quote that I want to talk about. The one thing I will say, after reading a bit about George Bernard Shaw, was that he was a hard-working man. Throughout his youth, he went to school, which he hated. That's nothing new. Throughout his young adult life, he worked a job that he hated, which again is not really anything new. What sets him apart from certain individuals, and you always have these stories, but this was truly somebody who starved for their craft. He was a playwright, and it took him forever to start getting a lot of production rolling. Once he did, it really took off for him. He was able to become extremely successful. But he really had to starve for it. There are a couple ways to take this kind of quote. Better keep yourself clean and bright. You are the window through which you must see the world. Part of what makes this interesting is because generally when you talk about, my mind goes to people being able to look in. Better keep yourself clean and bright, because if people are going to look at you, you want to present the best image you can to the world. So it's interesting that he turns that around, and the whole reason to keep yourself clean and bright is actually so that you can perceive the world rather than be perceived by the world. I like that. I like that idea. My interpretation, my thoughts on what he's trying to say are essentially that you need to know what you stand for. That keeping yourself clean and bright is not just being a good person and being like cheerful and optimistic and all this happy-go-lucky kind of stuff. To me, what this says is you have to know what you're willing to do in this world and stick by it. You can't sell out your own ethics or your purpose or your passions, anything like that. If you give it up and you sully that, the experience of the world is going to be tainted by that. So more than anything, you need to know what you love, but more importantly, you need to be aware of what you're willing to do for what you love. Hard work is inevitable, and most of us don't like the work that we do. And we like to get this idea that that's a new phenomenon, that everybody in this generation just hates the jobs because the jobs suck so much. The truth is, there are stories in the Bible that talk about similar ideas. Aesop's Fables has similar. I don't want to do the work, so I'm going to try to find a way around it because doing work is lame and awful and I don't want to do it. Yeah, that's true. And that has been around forever. But the fact is, you got to be willing to supply the things that you love with things that you might not. And if you let these things that you kind of have to do just to get by in the world distort and sully everything that you want to do in the world, you're not going to make the time to do this. It's not going to be worth it. You're going to resent it. So my thought for this, I believe this is a very positive quote, and it helps us define our terms for how we live our life and how we choose to experience things. Happiness is a choice, which is infuriating. But if you don't choose happiness and find a way to pursue it, all you're going to have is the work that you do and the misery that it brings you. Find a way to make it be a path to your happiness. Until then, stay tuned and stay real.